Oh wow, this place is so beautiful.
While Iceland is a super safe country to explore and drive around, unfortunately, every year, almost without fail, there are some tourists that make dangerous mistakes that range from uncomfortable situations to serious accidents or even fatalities. Hey everyone, my name is Jules, host of All Things Iceland, and I partnered with Car Rental Iceland, which is a local, awesome car rental company in the country, in order to share with you 5 of these dangerous mistakes that tourists make so that you can avoid them, manage expectations, and also have a fun and safe adventure while you're traveling around this amazing country. They're my preferred car rental company whenever I need a vehicle to go on an adventure, and if you use my discount Iceland10, you can get 10% off of your vehicle booking any time of the year. I'm currently on the famous black sand beach in Vik, which is a small town in South Iceland, to give some kind of fun atmosphere as I'm talking about these dangerous mistakes. And I'm just gonna jump right in though to the first dangerous mistake, which unfortunately is one that is frequently done by a lot of tourists, and that is stopping in the middle of the road to get out and take photos or videos.
Oh my god, sheep! Ah! Look at them, so cute!
It might seem like a counterintuitive thing or kind of strange behavior for people to do this, but it happens a lot more often than you might assume. And if it's your first time in Iceland, you see the beautiful landscape, you too might find yourself wanting to stop and just get out and take photos. Of course, there's nothing wrong with wanting to capture the landscape. My caution to you, and of course everyone else, is that you're on a highway most of the time as you're driving around the ring road, and stopping, of course, is dangerous for not only yourself but for others. So find a safe space nearby, even if you have to go a little bit farther down the road, in order to pull over, get out, and then take your photo. Number 2 is driving during a weather alert, like a serious weather alert, whether it's yellow or red. There are alerts that go out through websites like safetravel.is, or you can check where roads are closed on road.is. I will have all of that information in the description box for anybody who would like to just check it out and have an idea of what these sites look like and the information that they provide, because it has happened, and it actually recently happened in late September, where we had a huge storm in the north and the east. Unfortunately, there are tourists who decided to drive on that road, and they encountered horrible conditions that probably traumatized them. Like, there were doors that were ripped off, there was paint that was ripped off the cars, there were windows that were burst in by the wind picking up rocks and sand and throwing it at the cars. Whenever there's a weather alert, please stay off the roads. Because again, not only do you put yourself in danger, but the people that have to rescue you, the search and rescue teams, who are volunteers by the way, but they do put their lives on the line to try and help others. And if you could avoid being one of those people that they need to help, because the weather is so varied here, it happens that plans change quickly. That's just the nature of it. Be aware of it, and it will help to manage your expectations and also to help you make better informed decisions, because Iceland is no joke. There are no animal predators, but I always say that the natural predator here is the weather, and it has gotten people, unfortunately. Lots of crazy conditions, so please heed the warnings and stay off the roads if there are warnings that tell you that it's not safe to go out there. The next dangerous mistake is not keeping your eyes on the road.
Oh wow, this place is so beautiful.
So as I mentioned, there's so many beautiful landscapes, and it has happened where people have seen like a beautiful mountain, a sheep, an Icelandic horse. That seems to get a lot of people. And they literally are just looking in another direction and an accident happens. And to be fair, I get it. I remember when I first visited Iceland and I was just stunned by the nature and all of the amazing landscapes, a variety of landscapes as you travel throughout the country. Of course, taking your eyes off the road can lead to something as simple as a fender bender or a full-on serious accident. Next up is speeding, which yes, that is illegal everywhere, but in terms of the layers on top of it in Iceland is that the speed max is not very high, especially if you're coming from some other places like Germany where you have the Autobahn or something. Here the max speed is 90 kilometers per hour or around 56 miles per hour. And there's a lot of flat roads that you can see lots of vast, beautiful nature, and it can be very tempting to want to drive fast, faster than of course the limit. There are speed cameras all around in different places. And actually, if you check out in the description box my ultimate guide to renting a car in Iceland, I go over what to look for regarding some of those speed signs. So definitely check that out in the description. It's totally free and a great resource for people as well if you're planning to visit. But the things you need to keep in mind, especially like in the summertime, is that there are sheep who are roaming around the country freely. They are crossing roads at will, not sometimes even giving any warnings, because honestly, they rule the road. I feel like they're the bosses around here, and it's really cute to see them, but you just need to keep an eye out, because if you're going too fast, then of course it would be hard for you to stop and you could potentially injure or kill a sheep. And of course the impact of the sheep could really damage the car, which is another aspect of being dangerous. And two is if you're driving in the winter time, the roads in Iceland notoriously can be icy. And we're not talking about just like a little bit of ice. Sometimes it's kind of thick. And with the wind, with a storm that's not one that's too serious, if you're driving in those types of conditions and you're going too fast, of course it would be harder for you to be able to handle the car. There are studded tires, and that's something that I think people should be aware of, is when you're driving in Iceland, rental car companies put studded tires in order to help with traction, but that doesn't 100% prevent you from sliding on the road. I always give the advice that my mom gave me when I started driving, which is never drive your car faster than you can handle. And I think that is amazing advice, especially for Iceland in the wintertime, because there are conditions where, yeah, the max might be 90 kilometers per hour, but maybe you need to go 70 because it's a lot less visibility or the roads are really icy. And that's just for paved roads. If you're gonna be on a gravel road, for instance, it's much easier to slide on those. And it doesn't have to be that there's ice present at all. Maybe sometimes a little bit of wetness, but even on a perfectly dry day, it can still lead to conditions where you feel the car sliding a bit. So also go a little bit slower. Even if the speed limit is higher than what you feel comfortable driving, you can always put on your right blinker if someone's behind you and it's safe for them to go around, so that you can continue driving at the pace that you feel is safe for you. This next one also references the wind in Iceland, but not necessarily about when you're driving. So when you park your car, for instance, whether it's on the side of the road, in a parking lot, or even like on the streets in Reykjavik, be aware that if it is quite windy, that how you open the car door is super important. So securing the car door, which I know sounds like you're gonna get like bodyguards out there or something, but really it's just the way that you hold the car door to make sure that the wind does not essentially rip it off or potentially rip it off is important. A, because damage-wise, that is not covered under any insurance in Iceland, so you will be liable to, of course, pay for that. And then the other aspect of it is that you could get hurt. So even if the wind is pushing up against the car, you still need to hold it securely and open it and make sure that it doesn't slam back on you. So there's either it being pulled away and ripped off or being slammed back on you. Personally, the latter for me is one that I feel more comfortable with. So I don't mind parking against the wind and pushing the door a little bit so I can get out, but of course holding the door all the way through and then closing it. Whereas if I were fighting against the wind from it taking the door from me, I feel like that's a much harder fight in my personal opinion. I know, it feels like it's a lot. It doesn't have to happen all the time. I mean, this is something that on occasions when we have strong enough winds, it's important to do, but not knowing this information or not paying attention to it could lead to, like I mentioned, serious damage to your body and the car. Another tip on top of holding the door securely is not opening multiple doors in the car at the same time. So when you, like say if you're in the car with 2 or 3 people, open your door one at a time. for each of them so that you're not creating like a wind tunnel and causing more issues with potentially other doors being ripped open and things of that nature. I would love to hear in the comments of this video down below if there are any of the things I mentioned, any of these dangerous mistakes that tourists make that surprised you, that you have experienced yourself. I've heard people send me stories of like their rental cars where the door did get unfortunately ripped off, or they, you know, caught it just in time or something like that. So definitely let me know so we can kind of like share different stories or reactions to what I've talked about in this video. Also, thank you to Car Rental Iceland for partnering with me on this video. And like I mentioned, you can get 10% off when you book through them on your entire car rental booking. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, definitely make sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with somebody that you know is planning a trip to Iceland so they are aware of these dangerous mistakes so that they don't also make them. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.